Alright, tank did look like it was pretty darn low, so I just put 5 gallons of diesel in. Engine's hot, so let's see if it restarts. If it restarts really easily, then it's just because it's cooled off and it's something else going on. Although it hasn't cooled off much. It's only been down about 10 or 15 minutes. Because if it ran out of fuel, I'm probably going to have trouble restarting it. Just because it's a bugger to restart when you run out of the fuel. It's definitely like I'm getting no fuel at all. Well, I could go through the process of trying to bleed the thing. That's certainly one option. The thing is, I really don't want to do that. I'd rather try and determine whether or not it died because it was hot, or is it actually out of fuel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it cool down, come back when it's cold and try and restart it. And if it starts right up after it's been sitting and cools off, then I know it wasn't that it ran out of fuel. Well, it's the next morning, so it's plenty cold now. So I figure if it starts with a little squirt of ether, then I know that it's a problem where it just dies when it's hot, which could quite possibly indicate a bad injector pump. And if that's the case, I was planning on removing the injector pump and doing a reseal job on it. And anyways, so when I do that, I'll be able to take it apart and inspect all the components to see if I can determine what kind of wear has occurred or whatever's going on with it. But step one is to see if she's going to start. She's starting to snow. It's December 16th. It's my birthday, everybody. So anyways, what was I going to say? Well, if it doesn't start, well, that might be an indicator that I did just run out of fuel yesterday and I just need to bleed the lines to get it to restart again. But first things first, let's try and start it. Oh, as a side note, had some people comment or ask about the Grizzly 600 project. Here she is. She's running fine. Just did a trash run. Main job I have for this thing these days is not recreational, it's to pull this wagon. So the wagon's really handy for when I'm cutting brush and stuff like that. And it runs great. It really runs great. I mean, it doesn't burn oil. It's really a testament to the amount of abuse you can do to one of these things before you do something really horrible to it. I did get a series of comments on the Grizzly Project pages. There was one individual in particular whose comments I removed because he just had, you know, I don't mind critical comments every now and then, but I mean, this person just was, I don't know a lot about internet jargon. I think that they call this person a troll. Is that what you do? You're just fishing for animosity. Because he just constantly posted comments about how horrible a job I did with this thing and how this was going to happen and that was going to happen, and you know, he had absolutely, you know, it made no sense, because if he had looked at like the videos after that, he would see as things progressed that I did put this together just fine as far as I'm concerned. How do I know that? Because I've been running it for over a year, no problems, you know. What more can I say? But enough of my diatribe. Okay, so it's starting to sleet or freezing rain or something out here. But so the amount of time that I ran it yesterday with the alternator running did put some of a charge in the battery. So I would expect that I've got plenty of battery juice this morning to crank her over. I am going to give a little shot of starter fluid because I'm not foolish enough to think that even if everything was fine this morning, that I got enough battery power to use the preheater, the electric preheater, and not run it down too far. So okay, so there's a little squirt of fluid, and let's see, shut off. Oh, throttle's all the way down. Throttle up. that doesn't sound like it's gonna start. Maybe I lucked out and I've just got, like I said, maybe I just ran this thing out of fuel. I'm gonna try the preheater a little bit. Give it about 20 seconds. La da da, la da dee na na. Well, good enough. Yeah, it sure seems like it's not getting fuel, so that would tend to indicate to me that maybe we've got a problem where I just ran it out of fuel yesterday and it needs to have the lines bled. So next time I get a chance and the weather's a little nicer and I don't have other things to do, I will come out here and try and bleed it. Well, it's been a couple days since I tried starting this thing. We've had a lot of rain. I haven't been able to get out here. I've actually got to work today, but before I leave I want to see whether or not I can see if there's air in the system and try bleeding it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this thumb screw bleeder on top of the fuel canister here. And of course nothing's really coming out right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up that 12-volt pump and run it. Let's see if I can hold this wire on here and shoot the video of the pump there so you can see where it's coming out, or where it's not coming out I should say. Just had it running for a second. Judging from the noise of the pump, it's definitely not priming, so I would say that I just ran out of fuel. Kind of hard to get this on here. Hold on a second. Alright, so there we go. I don't know if you can hear the pump, but it's making that loud, quick rattling noise. It's not pumping. There we go. Here comes the fuel. Some air, a little bit of fuel. Alright, so I'm going to close that bleeder now. Alright, so now I'm going to run that pump with the bleeder closed and see if it doesn't build some pressure. There we go. Alright, just for giggles, let's see if we get any smoke. Alright, so now we're getting some fuel. So, now a little shot of ether. Alright, let's see. That's what it was. Looks like I just ran it out of fuel. But I still think that, what the hell we got going on here? It's just rainwater. Anyway, so what I was saying was I still think that that injector pump might have some wear, and I think that might be part of the problem the original owner was having with it shutting down when it was hot. And then it would make sense that they installed this electric pump, and after they installed this electric pump, supposedly it cured the problem. Now all this time I've had it, You'll notice I haven't been running the electric pump other than to prime it. I don't leave that electric pump hooked up and running all the time. This is supposed to be a gravity feed system. Well, now that I know it's running again, let me shut it down so you can hear me talk. Alright, let me start by telling you a quick little story. I found the IT manual for the 770 series tractor. It turns out that it's the 77s, the 88s, the 770s, the 880s, whatever. All of those series are covered by the same IT manual. I found it on eBay, and I bought it, and it was the original manual, and I got it in, and I opened it up and looked through it, and lo and behold, the section about the injector pump shows the Bosch style injector pump, and it doesn't show anything about the Rusa Master injection pump. So apparently maybe early on they didn't use the Rusa Master pump, or they predominantly used the Bosch pump. I don't know, but it was interesting because like it talked about how in the early and then there's a section in there troubleshooting, and it talks about dilution of crankcase oil from diesel fuel. And it says one of the things you got to check is you got to check the diaphragm on the lift pump, or the fuel pump. Well, there's a mechanical fuel pump apparently on the crankcase on the models that have the Bosch injector. It doesn't exist on this one. This one uses gravity. And you know, a lot of people say, well, wait a minute, how the heck can you just have gravity flow feeding the injector pump? Well, that's because of the two different pumps. They're completely different in design. First off, the Bosch pump, you can identify the Bosch pump. This is the Rusa Master pump, and you can identify the Bosch pump because the Bosch pump, the hydraulic head section right here of the pump is actually on the top facing up. So all the lines come out of the top and turn and go to the injectors, as opposed to coming out of the back like this one. So one of the major differences in the pump design is this Rusa Master pump actually has a transfer pump inside that takes the gravity flow into the pump and creates enough pressure to charge the hydraulic head part, which is the high pressure part of the pump. And I believe on the Bosch pump they don't have the transfer pump, because on the Bosch pump you need to have a mechanical lift pump to actually bring that fuel in under pressure. So this is kind of a neat design when it works, but that explains why there's no mechanical pump. It wasn't a situation where they removed the mechanical pump and put that electric pump in its place. Originally that didn't exist. In other words, there was no mechanical pump over here that was removed and then you know, replaced by this electric pump. Matter of fact, the line going into this pump right here is actually long enough to go back over to this filter right here. So that's why there's a loop in this line right here, which probably isn't the greatest idea, but you can see it right here. This line actually loops. So anyways, I could disconnect it there and connect it all up and it would be gravity flow again. But I think the reason why they put this pump in here is to help the worn transfer pump inside of the Rusa Master injector pump. And that's my theory anyways. Now you might say, well, how do you know that it isn't just a Rusa Master pump they got off something else and stuck on here? Well, you know, I was beginning to think that too, because after I got the IT manual and didn't have anything about the Rusa Master pump in there, I found another guy online who sells a PDF copy on CD of the full Fleetline manual, the big manual, 1,200 pages on this tractor. So I got that one in. And guess what? Only the Bosch pump in there also. No mention whatsoever of the Rusa Master pump. I'm like, well, that's crazy. You know, so I began to doubt myself and think that, well, maybe this does have the wrong pump on it, and it's just a pump somebody stuck on here. But then I went back and I remembered the owner of this tractor gave me a parts book that he had with the tractor that somebody had given him. And I went and looked in the parts book, and sure enough, there's two sections in the parts book. There is a section in the, for the fuel area anyways, there's a section that shows the tank and the plumbing, the piping, the filters, and the lift pump and the Bosch injector pump. And then there's another page that shows the tank with different line sets to accommodate the Rusa Master pump that I have, and it does not have the lift pump in that circuit. The only thing we've got is a little mechanical hand-operated primer pump on the other side there, which is used to prime it in the event that you run it out of fuel. So anyways, that's the story about what we've got going on here as far as why there is no mechanical pump. So there is no possibility of a diaphragm in that being bad causing the diesel fuel to leak into the crankcase. So we know that that's not the cause of the diesel in the crankcase. So the only other two possibilities are, from what I could see, well, I guess there could be other possibilities that are much, unlikely, like a crack in the head somewhere. But the more common problem with these is these seals that are called umbrella seals that are on the shaft that goes from the crankcase into the injector pump and drives the pump. And if those seals go bad, then your fuel's going to want to go out that way. So I have decided that I am going to pull the injector pump, and I am going to disassemble it to reseal it because I know it leaks. But while it's apart, I'm also going to check it very closely for wear. And I did find some information online on the Rusa Master pumps that's going to guide me through disassembly and also guide me as to what tolerance I should find inside that pump.